All right. Howdy. Welcome back. All right, just warming up. Having a little fun there. All right, so finally, good to be back at it. Welcome to another TeleDynes live stream. Sorry, it's been a while, guys. Just trying to, life gets in the way and a whole bunch of things. So we got updates for the channel and just everything that's been going on lately. So the first thing I wanted to address was the just some upcoming videos. I'm still got all the videos that I talked about last time, which was over a month ago now. My goodness. Was the Falcon Rancher review, which is in process. It's taken a little bit longer than I thought. Again, a bunch of stuff came up. Personal stuff. I got sick for a week or so, and then I've been dealing with like this tennis elbow tendonitis or something that's been going on. So it's been just kind of nursing that and definitely feeling better and getting ready to get back into it. And in the meantime, I've also been writing new songs to try to get the album wrapped up here. And we're pretty much there. There's a couple more tunes ready to go, and then we're ready to go in the studio and knock all those out and hopefully have a release sooner than later. So I've got the basic template done for the original tune, so I can, now that I have that done, once I get the rest of them done, it shouldn't take too long to start mixing them, unless there's some, separate instrument or something I got to do. Other than that, let's see, I made a couple of notes here. The next guitar lesson I'm going to be doing is, I think I mentioned it last time, was This Cat's on a Hot Tin Roof, because I can't think about it, keeps popping in my head. And until I do that and get my mind off of it, then I can move on to something else. So I've been wanting to do a lesson on that one for a while, because I'm going to explain the song, of course, but I'm also going to add in other little parts that you can play on the guitar, because obviously the recording, it's a big band originally, and it is a rockabilly song primarily. You don't really need all of the horns and stuff like that, but there's a couple of little parts in there that when they're not there, you miss it, if you know what I mean. So I'm gonna kind of just go over a couple of little parts where you can kind of add it, especially towards the end of the tune. There's a couple of little riffs here in the very beginning where you do the standard, right, as you do, right, that little riff there, and then it goes into the rest of the song. And so the guitar is doing, right? It's going down. But the horns are going, or sorry. So you can play that instead if you want to. That's kind of a rough estimation of the harmonies, you know, to play the full four-way close is not practical, but you can get the idea of it. And then at the end, the horns do these little... So you can play that as just the rock and roll thing, or you can do the full chord if you want to. You can go to the F, or you can go to an actual F instead of an F9, or F7, or whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go over that and add in those little things, and it just fills in space as a trio. And that's what, you know, the TeleDynes are a trio. So primarily, we have played with horns in the past, but it's been a long, long time, and love to do it again at some point. But and let's see what else has been going on. I've also been just messing around with some finger picking stuff. I've been learning this maple leaf rag. I'm not anywhere near ready to play it on stream yet, but that's a hard one. That's a hard one. I thought Mr. Sandman was tough. Maple leaf rag. That's I'm ready to kind of do, but that's very precise. Very precise. Let's see. Also, in case for those of you who are watching it now, watch it later, along with this and doing little segments here, going over whatever, chatting back and forth. I know it's been a while, so people weren't prepared for the live stream today. But I'm going to be doing launching a second channel, a companion channel to this one, where I'll put clips from the live stream, clips from the upcoming podcasts that are still in process. Because I don't want to clog up this channel with a bunch of clips from the live stream or the podcast or anything like that. So the full videos will still be on this channel, but that's called the TeleDynes Backstage. Channel's there, but there's nothing on it yet. So it's just a blank thing right now. So that'll be, and some other backstage behind the scenes stuff that I'll put on that channel potentially, or it might be a members only thing on this channel. I'm not really sure yet exactly. So again, kind of also my day job and work has just exploded, so I haven't really had a lot of time to as much as I would like to dedicate to the channel. But this is try to do this as often as I can. I'm doing it a little early than normal. I think if I could get back into doing this, I'm probably going to do it a little earlier, like around this time, around 2 o'clock or so. And depending on how the chat goes and how the stream goes will depend on how long it goes. I try to go for at least half hour or so. And then that's really much it as far as updates go for the channel. The next thing is just, I had a couple of comments on some of the videos, questions that I've answered before, but we'll answer them again, and I will try to clip this section so I can talk about how I actually do a couple things. A couple of questions have been, how do I get the sound? What amp am I using? How am I getting the sound? So I'll start there. So when I record live, of course, is one thing, and then recording is something else. So live, I just use the Fender Bassman through the Space Echo or a Mystery Brain or whatever, and that's pretty much it. I have a tremolo pedal that I'll click on occasionally to use if the song needs it. I do have a spring, it was a Dan Electro Spring King reverb pedal that I'll use for some of the surf stuff, and or I'll use the reverb in the Space Echo if I have it. Now recording is a little bit different. So that the sound that you're hearing in the videos is the amplifier. But what I do is I record this sound right here that you're hearing now is just the guitar plugged into Pro Tools or plugged into an interface plugged into Pro Tools. I use a DI and then go into the interface. You definitely want to use a DI when you're doing direct to get the impedance right. Otherwise, you can get weird clipping and distortion. So after the main signal is recorded, I use a radial reamp pedal, go out from the interface into the amplifier, or I go into the pedal board and into the amplifier. So the reamp pedal acts as like your guitar. So your plug, the output you want to plug where you would plug the jack on the guitar, you plug that into the output of your radial DI. And that goes out to your pedal board and then, or if you want to use the pedal board, and then into your amplifier. So then I use a Sennheiser 601, I think is what it is. That's those flat microphones. A lot of people have been using those lately, live as well. Very comparable to a 57 Shure. And that's been great for the recording. And I just play back the audio I've recorded. It loops back into the interface, and I re-record it back in. And I do it twice. So I'll do one track with the effect, delay or reverb or whatever, and then I'll do a second track dry, no effect at all. That gives me the ability to mix and match, or mix the how much signal I actually want. And having that dry signal, I found, really allows me to get the guitar really precise, right in your face kind of sound. Where if you just use the delay, sometimes you get lucky and you get a great sound, and other times it's just too washy and it doesn't work well. So if you have those two separate signals, it's easy to manipulate later. And of course, it's all direct and you're reamping anyway. So if you don't like your sound, you can always reamp it as well. And this is a common studio trick or process that most people use, and they use it so you don't have to think about your tone and your playing when you're in the studio. You can just play and focus on that, and then later you can always fix your tone. So that's basically how I get the sound for the videos, and that's how I do it for any album stuff or whatever. But it is the Fender Bassman. Another question was finger picking, and I've gotten probably more than anything is how to get this finger picking sound, the Rockabilly finger picking sound. Whatever key you're doing it in. And it's just a bar chord form, so you got to be pretty concerned. You got to be pretty accurate with the bar chord stuff. So we got a question here. How have you ever considered a Tonex or other capture technology? I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with Tonex or any of that. I'll have to look that up and see what that is. I'm not sure what that does. Oh, it's an amp modeler. No, I haven't really got into amp modeling too much, other than for the live stream or whatever. Since I play live a lot, I don't really wouldn't use an amp modeler live. I would use an actual amplifier. I know a lot of people have been going over to amp modelers and stuff for live and that sort of thing. But for recording, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you're still not getting the real amp sound with that. You're getting it close. It's getting close. And I was thinking about that with whether you're live or whether you're recording. Is there anything that you're actually going to be losing from going over to amp modelers? Because a couple of things have been popping up on my feed lately talking about venues going over to what do they call ampless, no amps on stage rule, and no wedges either, no monitor wedges. So everything's got to be in-ear monitor on top of it. And I don't know about any of that, but I haven't seen it around my area too much. I mean, I've seen bands do it, but it's not. But I've never seen a venue say you can't have an amp on stage or anything. And I use if somebody complains it's too loud, I use a THD hot plate, and it's an attenuator, and it keeps the volume down, so I can still get my tone and still be at a whisper without having to worry too much about being too loud on stage. But yeah, it is very subjective. But I was just thinking, like, is there anything you're actually missing from an amplifier? And the one thing that I can think of is feedback, especially with the Rockabilly stuff. There's a lot of this in the hollow bodies. Sometimes it's nice to be able to get right in front of the amp and you kind of get a note droning out, and you can play with the feedback in the Bigsby. And it if the guitar has a good tone to it and the feedback is nice, some like this orange one back here is terrible feedback. It squeals and it's awful. But this one sounds great, and I can really control and kind of play with that feedback, and I play a chord. And it just, you get that touch sensitivity, and the guitar vibrates in your hand. And just, I don't know if that can be duplicated, and that touch sensitivity and that feeling that you get with a real amplifier behind you. So that's my take on that. And then of course you have the problem with upright basses in when you're talking about stage volume, or horns. Like, what do you do with horns if you have a quiet stage and there's no wedges and there's no amps, and drums are behind or you're using an electronic drum kit, or drums are behind a plexiglass thing? What do you do about horns, upright basses, that sort of stuff? Fiddles, So I'm curious. There's a couple people talking about it online on YouTube and whatnot. So I don't know what their opinions would be on it, or if anybody has anything, an opinion on it. Let me know. But yeah, I've heard mostly it's like the casinos going over towards it. But anyway, yeah, the finger picking thing. I had somebody ask me about how to get that. So you got to get familiar with the bar chord form, of course. It's all based around G, or just the F bar chord shape. This basic, I call it the F bar chord because that's where you usually start when you start playing, and then you can move that around. But it's all based on that, and it's really the seventh. You're playing a seventh, and you're just using your little finger to move around these 4 notes here. So the top, so if you're in G, then you're playing around with on the 5th fret on the B string, and the 5th fret on the E string, and then you go up a fret, 6th fret, these 4 notes. You got the thumb going. And then you got your middle finger on the B on the 3rd string, and you just kind of do a little hammer on every once in a while whenever you're feeling It's all indiscriminate. Just make it up as you go along. And to get that really clear, you just have to obviously get used to playing the bar chords, but also if you're having trouble, just if you're ever having trouble reaching a chord or something, or riff, just push your wrist just a little bit further under the neck, and that'll give you a little bit more leverage, as opposed to if you're trying to play something, down here. Just move your wrist under, that'll give you a lot more leverage. And you can slide your index finger up quite a bit. That'll give you more leverage than if you're trying to play it down here. And if you're still having trouble, obviously playing acoustic will help build strength up in your hand and that sort of stuff. It could be a setup in the guitar. If your string action is high, that's going to cause all sorts of problems. And usually where a lot of the string action being really high, where it comes from is the nut. Not so much it's the neck and the nut are the biggest two spots. When it comes to, action up on the top here, that's going to be more in the saddle, but it's a three-way, it's a three part process. Neck, bridge, nut, that's the order you go in when you want to set up the guitar. So you want to make sure that the neck is straight, maybe a little bit of a bow, and then deal with the bridge, and then deal with the nut. A lot of the times, especially from the factory, the guitar nut will be pretty high. Just from any model, any brand, it doesn't matter. Gretsch is pretty good about it. Gibsons are pretty high. You usually have to do quite a bit of setup on those Gibsons, and that usually the guitar stores will take care of that before you even touch them. But if you bought it directly from Gibson, you're probably going to get a pretty high action here. So the most people probably aren't comfortable doing their own, getting the files, and so just take it to somebody and take it to a guitar shop or Guitar Center will probably do it. They usually have a guitar tech, and just get it set up and then try it and see if you're having an issue. And or to go to the store and try something that's set up well at Guitar Center if you can find such a thing, and give it a shot and see if you're running into the same problem. So that's my my 2 cents on the finger picking stuff. And also to just get used to it. If you're not used to using the thumb, there's a couple different ways you can finger pick. Obviously, you can use your thumb pick. That's one way. You can use nothing. Just use your hand. No pick at all. You can use a pick and in place of the thumb. To me, that's very, I don't like it. It's a little too harsh for me. You can palm mute it a little bit if you get used to it. But I like tucking the pick up in the finger. It's the Setzer thing, because you can still use your thumb like you would if you didn't have a pick, and it's muted. It's a lot more subdued, and then it lets the top notes ring out a little bit more. And one thing to practice to get that used to that rhythm is you just want to practice remember that your thumb is always hitting the downbeat and your fingers are hitting downbeats and upbeats. So you want to practice going down, up, down, slow like that. And then just try all 3 of your fingers, and then just want each individual one. And that's going back and forth. And then play it together. And then bounce back and forth. It's like a flat tire groove. Right? And if you want to just practice that, if you can't quite get the bar chord thing, play over a 9 chord. That's a lot easier on your hand. And then you can focus on the finger picking and not worry too much about this. And learning just basic Travis style picking if you're trying to tuck the pickup. A lot of people, when I first learned Travis style picking, I learned it without a pick. So I would play it like this. Right? And then when I started tucking the pickup, you lose your index finger, so you can't. So you have to kind of relearn how to fingerpick a little bit. So that's a good starting point to kind of get used to that pattern and just get it in your muscle memory. Another thing to do is I think I've gone over this before, where you just kind of do a bend up here on the E string and then keep the open E going. But you want to get the thumb going. That's an easy thing. And just little riffs that you would play on top of, you would play on a pentatonic, right? But keep the thumb going, and then try to do the same thing with keeping the thumb going. Right? It's another one that can, Susie Q, the riff to Susie Q. Is another good one to practice. Trying to think of some other little tips there as far as finger picking goes. But and as far as the thumb goes, you know, with the rockabilly stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of playing, even if you're playing a 9 chord and you hit the bottom string, it's just the 5th anyway. So it's still fine. And if you're using your thumb, it's kind of subdued and muted anyway. And it's just the idea that it's, you know, you kind of have this pulse going underneath all of the other notes. And rockabilly isn't meant to be perfect, so it's just a fun little technique to throw in. And you can do it, it doesn't have to be just a rhythm, you can throw it in as a solo, right? You don't have to just play individual lines, and only when you're playing rhythm you can play a finger picking. You can use that as its own solo, right? And I would recommend learning songs like That's All Right Mama, where you can learn the you know, Mystery Train. Both versions. Whichever one you want to do. And yeah, just getting used to using your fingers if you're not used to it. Because you'll definitely, we're all used to building up calluses on our fretting hand, but when you start finger picking, you'll find that you're going to build up unique, different calluses for the finger picking hand. And that'll hurt just as much as, as building up these did. So and I also play upright a little bit too. So I actually had an upright gig was Thursday. I hadn't played in, jeez, I don't even remember the last time I played. And at least other than for like a video or something. And yeah, I got a big blister on my finger from playing because there's steel strings on that. And I used to play with the Weed Whackers and the like the Innovation Golden Slaps, but oof, the seals do sound better. You just have to build up the calluses. So I figure I'll just go through the pain and build up those calluses. But I was playing more often, and I just haven't been playing the upright as much as the guitar. I haven't really been playing that much at all this last month or so, but getting back to it. So try to make these live streams consistent at least once a week, maybe more. We'll see how it goes. See if I had any other questions here from comments. I think that was basically the most of it. Oh. Um, yeah, as far as bar chords go in general, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos come up, and I see people playing this. Maybe you guys have seen it too, where you play a bar chord, everyone plays this one, but when you go to play, like say a C or a B flat or whatever, I see people doing this. You can see what I'm doing. And I know that a lot of the books that you get will have this form in it instead of barring it like that. Or people will play an A like this instead of barring it like that. So, in my experience, I wouldn't do that. I would just learn to do that. I know it might take a minute to kind of clear that top string. But if you're playing something like, you're going to want to switch back and forth pretty quick. And it's not really practical to do it like that. I don't know. And also, if you're just going from here and you want to go to a minor, you got to flip your fingers around, as opposed to just everything's kind of right there. Plus, you're playing power chords, right? You're doing the rock and roll thing, and you're on a C. Right? It's all right there. It's very impractical, but I see it quite a bit, and it's just something when I first started, I saw that in the book, and then every time I see people play, all the great players, I've never seen anybody do that live. But it's starting to crop up a little bit here and there, with some more, I guess, in the modern genres and things like that. Don't know why, other than I know that for whatever reason they still stick with this form in a lot of the beginner books. So I'm actually doing a beginner guitar lesson series that will be on the channel. So I've got several of them recorded already. So, but I'm waiting until I get a big chunk of them done so that I can consistently release them. And everything's just been so crazy lately. I haven't had the time, but it's all still happening, slowly but surely. And I do appreciate everybody that has liked and subscribed to the channel and supported on the Patreon, and all of that stuff continues to make all of this possible and keeps me enthused to keep doing more videos as well, and coming back to it. So, but yeah, for the live streams going forward, we'll probably be doing it a little earlier, around 2 o'clock. It seems to be a little bit better, at least for me. And and that way, a lot of the times I'll have gigs on Saturdays, and if I do it at 4, I got to get ready and get out of here, and don't have much time to do anything. So 2 o'clock is a better time frame. In fact, I'm going to try to been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about it the whole time I've been streaming here, and whether or not I want to do more streams. I'm going to try to do one every single day this week, just to see if I can do it. So we'll try again tomorrow and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and try to do at least just for an hour or so, and go over a couple of little fun techniques and anything I can think of, and chat and whatever comes up, and see if that helps and more people start joining the stream, and see if that actually builds up the live stream. And if it does, I'll continue to keep it up. Let's see. Anything else going on? Let's see, any other techniques I can tell you. Oh yeah. The Thank you, Joel. Glad to be back. One thing about when finger picking too, without worrying about the thumb, just to help build up calluses on your fingers, is just practice doing little riffs like that. Normal things. Right? Whatever you're gonna do. Any riff you can think of, even if it's just playing a scale. Just pick it with your fingers so you can get used to build those calluses up. and back and forth between the thumb and the ring or index finger, whatever, or middle finger rather. That's such a cool riff too. It's doing something like that. And instead of picking it with your pick it with your fingers. Thumb on the root. And it sounds cool to pop the strings like that, especially with the bridge pickup, right? Whatever you want to do. And playing whole chords too. You don't have to do all those chords, but you can do whatever, just basic chords, and just get used to picking with your fingers. And that can be a different way of playing rhythm too. They usually call that comping. It's kind of imitating a piano, when you're just playing little bits like whatever. Do something like that. And that can be if you're backing somebody up, or whether they're singing or a solo is going on, instead of just, strumming chords, you can just, even if it's a simple 1-4-5, right? Depending on the feel, obviously. But even if it's a straight rock thing. And it kind of creates another rhythm that's going on in the background, and kind of, just mixes it up a little bit, so it's not, and it creates a little bit more space in the overall sound of the band, so everything's not just that all night long. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Let's see, what else has been going on? Like I said, I've been trying to do these new, got a couple of new videos coming out here. I've got a couple of other different things. Gonna go into a couple of things have come up in my YouTube feed, and other things I've been thinking about like proper guitar fingering and things like that. Does it really make that much of a difference? I've seen people play so many different ways. Like, from my opinion is whatever works for you. If it works and you're able to do it and it's comfortable, do it. Just do it. I mean, most of the great players always did something that would be considered not proper or unconventional. So I don't really worry too much about it. But of course, it's YouTube, right? So everything's got to be, everyone's got to have some sort of crazy, some people are crazy analytical. Everything's got to be perfect. And then other people are just, whatever. I'm sort of like in between. It's the same thing with playing songs note for note for me. I will play some songs, I'll play note for note. Others I won't. It just depends on the tune. Like I don't really play it too much anymore, but just as an example, I will play when we ever covered Rock This Town. The original album recording has 2 solos. The radio edit only has 1, but so I never learned the second solo. But when I played the first solo, I would play the first solo note for note, or as close as I can. And then the second one, if we did go around a second time, I would just make it up. I would just improvise it. And that's pretty much the way I do most of the set. It's like some songs I'll improvise solos, sometimes I'll play songs note for note. Original songs the same way. It's some solos I have very specific. I want to execute the same way each time. Other times it's never the same twice. So that's I like 50-50 is the way I kind of deal with it or approach it. What string gauge do you use on could you advise a new beginner? Um, I use tens, Diodario tens. Um, that's just because they're so common. But you can use whatever brand you want. I've just found that they work great um, for me. I've used Ernie balls before. That's fine. It doesn't. I don't think the brand really matters all that much. But tens, it depends on the guitar that you've got and how it's set up. Most guitars are set up for tens, and so you can go if tens feel a little too light. You have a stronger, you know, if you've got more leverage there, you just feel like it's just too slinky. Go to an 11. Anything beyond that, you're getting into like jazz string territory, piano wire, 13s and stuff. And the other problem with having when you go up more than a gauge, up or down, you have to file the nut to get the string to sit properly. Especially if you're going, if you go to a larger gauge, you're going to have to file the nut. And then if you decide to go back down, then you have this, you're going to have to, fill the nut back in and then refile it back down for the new string if you want to get a a good setup. Same thing if you go the opposite. If you go down to say eights or something, I don't know why anybody would want to, but I I heard what was it Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top uses eights or something like that, and if that works for you, great. I just found if you have a Gretsch or you have any guitar with a Bigsby, the Bigsby does add a little bit of tension, at least for me. So if I play whatever, I don't have a guitar without a Bigsby, so um, I had a Gibson for a while. I had a BB King Lucille, and I had a Les Paul Studio model, and I would put tens on those, and they felt it's nothing. It's just so slinky. They would just bend like crazy, and I would overbend and overplay sometimes because I was so used to these. And so I switched to 11s, and that was better on those guitars. Same thing with a Strat and a Tele. I like 11s on a Tele, but a Gretsch I like the tens. So that's long answer, I know, but my advice is definitely whatever. If tens feel too much, go up one gauge. Don't go too crazy. And then if they feel too much, maybe go down to nines. But tens are pretty good. Some people will use. I had a buddy of mine will use like a lower gauge string on the bottom for a bigger bass sound and stuff, but it's up to you. Any other advice? I mean, get your guitar set up if you haven't yet. That's because that if you're just beginning, um, even if you're on electric, especially if you're on acoustic, get it set up. But even if you're on electric, if it's not set up properly, you're gonna overwork your hand and put way too more effort into it than you need to. That nut, the string height on the nut should be fairly low, roughly about a pick's thickness, and this is a medium, like a Fender medium, so I think that's like 60 something millimeter. have my calipers on me. Roughly, the pick should sit right in the string, and you shouldn't have much room. Just a tiny bit of movement. And that, and also another test is that when you push down on the top, the first fret, the how much pressure it takes to push down that first fret should be the same on the second fret. So if the guitar is set up properly, you should have the same amount of pressure. So it's going to be easier the further you go, right? So the second fret you test first. You see where that pressure is, and you hold that same pressure and bring it down. I've set this up though. It's pretty close. It's a little bit high, but it's not bad. I usually don't overcompensate for it because it's gonna settle and the neck's gonna twist, and and as you start to play, especially with a Bigsby, it's gonna make a sawing type motion in the nut slots and things like that. It's gonna settle. But that tension there, especially on acoustic, you want to feel that. If it's the same, you're good. But a lot of the times you go to a store and pick it up and you play it here, and then you'll move that same pressure down here, and you'll get that. You get the fret out. That means it's too high. And you're working harder than you should have to. Oh, you have an electromatic Gretsch. Excellent. Oh, those are great. They have a lot. I wish they made some of the colors in the other ones. I mean, it's the only real difference. I mean, I guess there is somewhat of a difference in the build. Obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs of everything they do, but just the pickups really. Which, but they sound great. I've done ABs of them back and forth, and they're great. And they've gotten a lot better over the years too. When they first came out, they were doing the floating bridge thing still, but now they lock them down, I guess. So that's fine now. But that's always the issue with Gretches, right? The intonation, because they used to always have floating bridges, and keeping the Bigsby in tune. So, which is a whole nother thing. Keeping that Bigsby in tune is always tough. It's all more about the proper filing of the nut to make sure, especially on the D and the G, to make sure that it's not just filed down at an angle, but down and to the side, like you're going towards the tuning peg, right? So you're going down and curving over when you file it. And the shop, wherever shop you take it, should be able to take care of that for you. But I've heard it's kind of an engineering problem in general for guitars. I don't know if that's true, but to have things stay perfectly in tune. But when you're playing the Bigsby, all the strings are kind of bending down at different degrees. And then, of course, you have this up here. I usually kind of use a little bit of sandpaper up there and just kind of smooth the nut slots out. And I'll use, what's it called? It's called, there's a couple of them. There's one's called In-Tune Guitar. It's a lubricant for Bigsby's and Floyd Roses and all that sort of stuff. And the other one's called Big Ben's. And you put that in the nut slot, and I'll put them in the bridge slot. Between that, the sanding, use sandpaper in the slots. If you're not comfortable with filing it down, at least just use the a high grit sandpaper, like 800 grit, something high, just to kind of smooth out some of the edges, especially with the round wound strings. That'll create divots and little edges and burrs in there that you want to get rid of. I do it every time I change the string, and that way it keeps it as best as you possibly can from going in and out of tune. And of course, remember the Bigsby, it's not a Floyd Rose, so you're not going to do dives or anything with it too much. That's about as much as I would go down. So I used to have to, every time I knew a Bigsby part was coming up, I'd play the Bigsby, and then I knew the D string was going to go out, so I'd play the part, bend the string down real quick, and I'm back. So, excuse me. But doing all that other stuff will help mitigate a lot of that. All right. Let's see. Any other little tips I can give here? You know, if you're not sure, also on the neck, there's a little test you can do with just your hands. You take first finger, put it on the third string, third fret on the E string, it's a G. Take your thumb on the other hand and put it on the up here on the 15th fret on the G. And then bring your index finger all the way here and kind of tap on the B note on the 7th fret. So it's hard to kind of see what I'm doing, but basically like that. You're moving. What you're doing is you're just kind of tapping this to make sure there's a little bit of a bounce. It should be just a little bit of space between the string and the fret. If it's flat, the neck is too straight. If there's a lot of bounce, then the neck is too bowed. So, and then of course you want to look down the neck and try to visualize it. And it's, you know, it's okay. Usually the bass side's going to have a little bit more of a bow than the treble side, which is normal. And you might get a little twist in the neck, which is also normal. But you just want to make sure if you're not comfortable doing any of this, take it to a shop. But if you want to, you know, give it a shot, you know, they're not as fragile as you might think. So you're just kind of twisting a little bit, and you're like, look down the neck and see if it's one side is straight. If the treble side is straight and the bass side is not, that's fine. You're not going to be able to fix that unless you do a whole fret, you know, refret and file the whole nut, you know, the whole neck down and do it and all that. And that's, if it's playing fine, it's not really worth all that. Oh, nice. The guitar is a white and nice. And just had the TV Jones pickups. Very cool. Yeah, that's all you need. That's great. Yeah, that thing will sound great. Yeah, I've been thinking maybe like I've been getting another guitar at some point. It's never over, right? We're always gonna have another one at some point. Try to have one built. Like find there's a couple of places I several streams ago. So a chatter told me about one of the where you can get the bodies, and even for hollow bodies, and have it all kind of carved out and made up and ready to go, and I can just put the pickups in and, you know, have the neck attached, or even get one with a neck, just no frets, and just fret it and put pickups in it and have my own custom paint job and whatever. But TV Jones, of course. And just kind of do a little custom job on it. Let's see. There's that trick, and then with the saddle, use a little ruler. I'll actually show you what I use. It's actually really cheap. It's just you can get it for like 50 cents. Here it is. My little tool bag. Guitar stuff. It's just one of these. You can see that. just a simple ruler. And I think this was, like I said, 50, 75 cents or something. And you just, you put it on the 12th fret and you want to check. I need my glasses these days, but to see, make sure it's just up 230 seconds, right? You should see that 230-second line right under the string. And then just check. With Gretches, you're going to have one single saddle piece, but if you had like individual saddle pieces, like a Tele or not a Gibson, but yeah, like Tele or Strat or something, then you have to check every single string. But in this case, you only have to check the top, the 12th, the bass string, and the top string. That's really all you need to check. You can check the middle, but there's not really much you can do about that. If for some reason, if you happen to have an older guitar, check the middle, because the bridge might have bent downward like this, and that's normal. That happens over time. I have had to have mine replaced. As a result of that, you supposedly can heat them up and bend them back. It's not worth it. It's not worth the hassle. So it's cheap to get a new Tune-o-matic bridge put on. So you just check each one, 230 seconds on each string, adjust it until you get it right, set your intonation. You know how to do that, right? Just check the open string, check the octave, check the harmonic, and then check. I usually go up a little bit higher just to make sure that the G is in tune, and then I'll check octaves to make sure those play right. And then you just adjust the string. If you want it to go, I believe it's right. If you want it to go up in pitch, you make it shorter. If you want it to go down, make it longer. So away from you versus towards the neck. And that's that's a rundown of a basic setup for the guitar, regardless of the make or model. So the hardest thing to do is, and these have the locking tuners, so it's really easy. But it doesn't really matter. With that, the only thing is that you want to make, if you don't have locking tuners, you have to make sure you get enough space between. So with these, I usually stretch the string, tuning peg, one tuning peg and a half or a quarter or so, a little bit over that. And then I'll bring that back down to here, and that's where I'll start winding it to get enough string wind. I mean, you can just do a little bit less. Usually there's a little bit less that you need on the bass strings. You can do a little bit more. Or you can do the knot thing. I've never done that, and with the locking tuners you don't have to. So it's I mean, and BB King used to use the whole string apparently. He would just wind the whole, have like this big ball of string mess on top of the tuning peg. So whatever. Whatever you want to do. Oh. Hello from England? Oh. Near London and Kent? Nice. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's a pretty good rockabilly scene over there, from what I gather, at least anyway. I've never been. Maybe one day. Anything else setup wise that I would normally do? I think that's really it. I mean, unless there's a major problem, then I take it to somebody else. I'm not gonna. I used to work in a shop, but it's been years, and I'll do a fret dress. Like if you get a lot of divots in your frets, you can usually do about 2 before the guitar needs a complete refret, and that will depend on how long you play, how much you play rather. It can, if you don't play the guitar, obviously it's going to last longer. But I think my first refret was about 5 years when I got my first orange guitar, and it's been refretted twice. I think maybe just once. No, just once. It's been refretted once, and I've done the fret dress on this thing twice since it's been refretted. So at this point, it's ready for a new set of frets. And then this one I've done a fret dress once, and so I can probably get away with one more, and then it's going to have a refret. But yeah, I got a long way to go before I even need to go there. Tom Ingram. Oh yeah, I know Tom. Las Vegas Rockabilly Weekend. Yeah, we were the band, the TeleDynes. We were. I met him at the one here. They were doing a Rockabilly. They would call it Viva East, and they would do the festival here earlier in the year, and then the Viva Las Vegas would be later, or maybe that was reversed. I don't remember. But anyway, I met him at one of them here at Viva East, and they were going to have us out, and we were going to play the Viva Las Vegas. I'd still love to do it, but that was 2020, and we all know what happened there. So yeah, COVID hit like a week before we were supposed to go, and we've never been able to go back. But yeah, we did get on the album though. They released a I don't have it on me right now, but I was just looking at it the other day actually. That year it was a Viva Las Vegas album where they put all the bands that were gonna play, and they put a song from every band. I think there's like 20 tracks or something like that on the album, and one of our songs is on there. And then they did a live stream, sort of, kind of. It was on Facebook, I believe, and they just said compile like 30 minutes of you playing live if you have it, and submit it. And so we were in the, the virtual live stream of Viva Las Vegas. But yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time. But if you see him, say hi from the TeleDynes. If you talk to him. Let's see. Any other technique? Oh yeah, electronics and things like that. Some people ask like, how far should the pickups be away from the strings? So I do the same. I think with that I'll do 3. Let's see what I got for this. Is pretty. These are pretty close. 2. Same thing. So same as the string height. Cool. Yeah, I don't know Rob, but cool, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, with the pickups, just same thing. All those little poles, I forget what they call them, but they should all be level, the same. So if some Gretches, they might be like up and down, so on and so forth. But they all should be pretty even if the pickup is good. And you just kind of check again the bass side, the treble side, and it should be roughly around 2 to 1 or 2 actually. With this one, this is pretty low. This is like 1/32 to the pole here, but on the bass side it's a little bit lower. That's fine. But basically you want to just make sure you hold the strings down on the highest fret, the 22nd fret, hold it down and just make sure that they're not touching when you play. When you got your palm on the strings for palm muting, make sure it's not touching the pickup. And that will will give you an idea for pickup height. And some pickups will go higher than others, and that does affect the output. It affects the volume, but this guitar is fairly loud. This is the loudest guitar I've ever played, compared to even the Phoenix here. Phoenix sounds great, but it doesn't have the bite that this one has. Yeah, and any other electronic issues that you might have, you know, Gretsch's, well, all guitars in general, not just Gretsch's, but check your, you know, your washers and the nuts under the volume pots. Output jack. When your strings are off, definitely check the nuts on the top of the tuning pegs. I've run across it so many times. Every guitar, they're loose, and you want to make sure those are nice and tight, because that can cause, you know, the string to go out of tune. So, yeah, that's my guitar setup advice. I used to work at Rudy's Music Stop in New York. Used to work on the shop on, what was it, 47th? Whatever Music Row is. And not there anymore, but yeah, we did they did a lot of stuff. I didn't work there very long, but I learned a lot, and it's very helpful now because I can set up my own stuff, and I don't have to worry I don't have to worry about taking it to anybody unless it's, you know, some major refret or something. Because you really, especially with these, you know, with a Tele or a Strat or something, you can get away with it, but a Gretsch, you really need any kind of arc top hollow body, you need a neck jig to do it right. All right. Well, been going for about an hour. I usually go about that length. See if I can do it again tomorrow, at least for a little bit. Try to do it every day this week, just to see what happens. See if it helps build the channel up even more. And again, I appreciate everybody. Thank you for liking, subscribing, watching the videos, and for those of you that are on the Patreon too, you can also join the Patreon for free. It just helps support, you know, support the channel, support the band and everything. And we're busy working on new tunes to get a all new original album out. It's been way too long. The last one we had was 2018. There is no excuse for that long, and it's my fault. It's I've been putting it off way too long. So that's gonna happen real soon. Finish with a tune. All right. Well, I can't really. I gotta be careful because I don't want to get too. I can play it at least. I can do that much. Gotta be careful about copyright, you know. Unfortunately. But I usually do a little bit of playing at least at the end anyway, so. Just kind of jam out on something. I'll play one of my favorite solos that I actually took the time to learn note for note, sort of, as close as I can get it anyway. It's from it's a song called Beautiful Blues, Stray Cats, but it's kind of a jazzier type thing. but it was a solo I really liked, and took me a little while to learn it, but let's see if I can remember it. Pretty close. Anyway, until next time, thank you guys again. And yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Take care.